Tyler O'Neill returned to the lineup as the Boston Red Sox took a tough 4-1 loss versus the Cleveland Guardians on Tuesday.
You are Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Red Sox, your daily Boston Red Sox podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Gabby, former ESPN social media associate and current host of the Boston Balling podcast as well. And I am here to bring you the latest in all things Boston Red Sox Monday through Friday, straight to your favorite podcast feed. And want to know the best part? It's free. So if it's free, might as well start your day off the right way by tuning in to Locked On Red Sox. Locked On is your team every day. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code LockedOnMLB, all lowercase, for a first deposit match up to $100. Welcome to Locked On Red Sox, a show where my mood is very much determined by the Boston Red Sox and how they play. So if you can relate, this is absolutely the show for you. My friends and family used to make fun of me because I was altering my schedule around Red Sox games, so I would not make other plans around when the Red Sox were playing, and I would just work around the games instead. I don't miss games, I don't miss pitches, and my mood very much could be frustrated if the Red Sox make me frustrated. So join me along on this roller coaster ride. And Tuesday's game certainly was one that made me frustrated as the Red Sox lost 4-1 against the Cleveland Guardians. And the biggest thing for me is they go and they sweep the Pirates on the road. And they looked pretty good in all facets of the game during that entire series. Defense looked pretty clean. Lots of good at-bats. Pitching performances overall were good. So the energy was strong. The vibes seemed very high. And I was very much looking forward to this series in Cleveland, although I was a little bit skeptical and a little nervous because of the fact that the Red Sox did struggle against this Cleveland team at home last week. But I had hope that because they were playing on the road, that maybe they would show up and continue this win streak that they've put together here, because they've been playing better overall on the road than they have at home. So I definitely had hope. After tonight's game, they are 10-4 on the road. So they've won a lot of games when they are not playing at Fenway. And I mean, that's obviously good, but it's also an issue that they can't figure out how to win games at Fenway. But so this game was very much a back and forth effort, especially a contest between the pitchers where they both were dominating. And one thing that's notable for the Red Sox is that Tyler O'Neill returned to the lineup. He had been placed on the injured list for a brief period of time because he actually collided with Rafael Devers in a game trying to make a play. So he was bleeding and exited the game, and then he had to get stitches. And then it was announced that he was going to be getting some more tests done, going through concussion protocol, and it came back negative for a concussion, which was very good news for him, because basically that means that he's sidelined for less of a period of time. So after the news came that he didn't have a concussion, the Red Sox basically just said he'll be on the IL until his stitches heal and he's able to play again. So he was back in the lineup on Tuesday and immediately reminded us of why he's been one of the best hitters on the team, as he did record a base hit in his first at-bat of the game. He went 1 for 4 in the game, so didn't really bring a lot of action offensively in the rest of the game, but he did get a hit, and it showed me that Tyler O'Neill is still here, and he was ready to be back, and he was ready to play. Now, definitely a frustrating night for him offensively, and the Red Sox offense in general. Lots of tough at-bats, tons of swings and misses. The Red Sox recorded 12 strikeouts as a team in the game, And this offense has been very wishy-washy, especially due to all the injuries that they've experienced lately. And now Tristan Casas is going to be out for likely an extended period of time. No real timeline on when he's going to come back. It's just about letting his rib fracture heal on its own. So there's not really a way for the Red Sox to know when Casas is going to be good enough to come back. So that's one injury that they've had to account for. They were talking about Rafael Devers being ready to return to the lineup on Tuesday. That did not happen. And I was wondering why, but I guess they wanted to give him another day before they brought him back. It's too early in the season for the Red Sox to be rushing him back if they do not feel like he's ready to come back and he's still healing. I have no problem with that. So that was basically the case there. And also Masataka Yoshida, who recorded 3 hits on Saturday, was not in the lineup to start on Tuesday. And people were wondering why, because he also hadn't been in the lineup on Sunday. So there were people definitely on Twitter who were a little frustrated at the fact that Yoshida didn't start in the lineup on Tuesday. And Alex Cora did say pregame that Yoshida was not injured. It was just more because they wanted O'Neill to DH and get back in the lineup. I'm sure Yoshida will be back in the lineup today, just in the DH role, and O'Neill will be playing in the field. It was just a good way to ease O'Neill back in by having him DH. So it's good news that we don't have to worry too much about Yoshida and adding yet another injury to just this pile on of injuries that the Red Sox have experienced this year. Overall, very putrid effort offensively for the Boston Red Sox on Tuesday. Wilyer Abreu crushed a home run, and it actually gave the Red Sox a 1-0 lead at the time. So I was feeling good. I said, okay, a 1-0 lead is probably not safe against a Cleveland offense that has been very good this year. But we take what we can get. The offense is not hitting. Glad somebody had a breakthrough. So he crushed that home run, and unfortunately it was short-lived as Cleveland tied the game in the 7th inning and then took the lead. So it was nice to see him get a home run because he's still hot at the plate. Abreu has been very good lately. He's been making contact, and he's been getting himself on base and really putting together some good at-bats. So I'm happy to see that he's still hitting. Rob Refsnyder also has been swinging a good bat since coming back, has recorded a few doubles and crushed another one on Tuesday. But the Red Sox overall as a team only recorded 6 hits in the game. So not very many, but it's nice to have Refsnyder back. He went 3 for 3 actually, which is something that people might end up overshadowing a little bit in this game and not talking about enough because we're very frustrated by the loss. But we definitely need to note that Rob Refsnyder has been absolutely on fire at the plate since he came back, and that's going to be a good addition to this Red Sox team, especially if they do have to continue to deal with some injuries that are so unideal. Having Refsnyder there who can step in and play in the outfield a lot of the time when needed is going to be huge for this team. So that was a bright spot in what was a very frustrating night for the Red Sox, but I was getting very tired of all the swings and misses. And honestly, credit to Cleveland's pitching staff in the game because they definitely pitched very well overall. Their starter Lively went 6.1 innings, giving up 5 hits and just 1 earned run. He also struck out 7 Red Sox. So he pitched very well, and then they had a few other guys come in that did not give up any runs and were able to maintain that good start that he had. So an overall frustrating day at the plate for the Red Sox, and I just hope that they can regroup and bounce back tonight because obviously it's less than ideal to have the majority of your offense not making any contact at all in the game. So between Abreu, O'Neill getting the base hit, Refsnyder going 3 for 3, and Connor Wong recording a hit, that's pretty much what there is to be of note for the Red Sox, unfortunately, on the offensive side of the ball. Just not really much going on there, and it's disappointing after the weekend series that they had, but like I said, they did struggle against this same Cleveland team at Fenway earlier in this season, so I would be lying to myself if I said that I was surprised that they came out like this, but still can squander the series, still can take 2 of 3. Hopefully that does happen. And one of the reasons why it was such a competitive game for a lot of it was due to Tanner Houck, who had yet another brilliant start for Boston. And I'm going to tell you why that's significant next. Okay, I've been told I'm a competitive person. Yes, I do in fact have a competitive side, but don't we all? And my competitive side is a big fan of Monopoly Go. I'm sure you've heard of it. It's been downloaded over 150 million times. It's a great twist on Monopoly where you play not one, but hundreds of Monopoly boards in crazy locations, building up amazing cities that bring you big money. But the best part is messing with my friends. I can charge them rent on my iconic properties, just like classic Monopoly, but now I can also heist their vaults of riches for myself. And the leaderboards show me who the biggest Monopoly tycoon is. But it's not just my competitive side that loves it. You can team up with friends and people all around the world in timed tournaments to earn huge rewards. So get in the game and join your friends. Download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play. It really is so addicting, so just proceed with caution if you do plan on using it, because for me, it's just so time consuming and definitely keeps me distracted from my responsibilities. So just proceed with caution, but I highly recommend using it. I also highly recommend PrizePicks as a fun way to play daily fantasy sports. PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. PrizePicks has something for every sports fan, from baseball and basketball to League of Legends and everything in between. You can pick LeBron, Shohei Ohtani, Connor McDavid, and Jude Bellingham, all in the same entry. PrizePicks is the best way to get action on sports in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's a first deposit match up to $100 if you use promo code LOCKEDONMLB and download the app. So there's no reason not to download PrizePicks, really, because you can make a good amount of money and enjoy yourself in the process. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This is great for Locked On because nobody else has this. So if you're looking to stay caught up in all things going on in sports, Locked On Sports Today is the place for you. The Boston Red Sox are coming off of a very frustrating 4-1 loss against the Cleveland Guardians. And like I mentioned before, I was definitely skeptical going into this series because the Red Sox struggled against this same Cleveland team at Fenway Park and lost 3 games out of the 4-game series. So I said, going into this series, it's going to be tough. It's not going to be an easy series. The Red Sox need to play their best baseball or Cleveland will capitalize. And we did see that in multiple scenarios on Tuesday night. But one thing that certainly was a bright spot in the game was Tanner Houck. He's been very good this year, and he continued that dominance on Tuesday night. His last start, he pitched a complete game against the Guardians at Fenway in what ended up being one of the quickest games in Major League Baseball history ever, which was crazy. But it's definitely worth noting that he does have a 2.38 ERA on the season. He's been very effective overall. He went 6 innings on Tuesday night, giving up 5 hits and 2 earned runs. He also walked 3 and struck out 4. So his strikeout rate wasn't exactly where he wanted it to be, but he looked very good overall. Relied on his slider in a lot of situations where it was crunch time and he needed to get the hitter to record an out. And that sinker's been very good this year too. So 2 pitches that he's been utilizing a lot of this year that have really been effective for him. And he looked very good generally through those 6 innings. He was dominating, keeping Cleveland at bay, not giving them a lot of opportunities to really smack the ball. And it was looking similar to his last start against this Cleveland team. And I said, wow, imagine if he goes the distance again. And his pitch count was getting up a little bit higher. He was around 53 pitches or so in the 5th inning. So I said the chances of him going as deep into the game as he did last time is probably pretty slim, but he still was getting the job done, and he was moving through those first 6 innings. And I said, man, this Red Sox team better give him the run support that he deserves, because he's doing everything he can right now, and his offense is paying him back with an absolutely putrid performance. So that to me was very frustrating, because I cannot stand when the Red Sox have a very good pitching performance and then the offense just doesn't show up and it's just not their night. And that's exactly what happened on Tuesday. Very impressed again with Houck. Overall this year, he's been a pleasant surprise. I was skeptical going into the season about his ability to pitch deep into games. When he sees a lineup the 3rd time, what's going to happen? Is he going to crumble, or is he going to be able to keep it together? Because that was a problem he had in the past, was not folding under the pressure and not falling apart when he sees a lineup the 3rd time. So heading into the 7th inning, the 7th inning was a deadly inning for the Red Sox, and he started to lose a lot of his command in that inning, gave up a couple base runners to start the 7th, so then Alex Cora pulled him and then brought in Brennan Bernardino. But there is not really anything to be upset with Houck about. He did absolutely everything he could in the game, and I just think by the time it got to that 7th inning, his arm was starting to lose it a little bit, get a little bit tired, and Cora definitely made the right decision taking him out. He wasn't really showing any signs of throwing strikes. His command was absolutely all over the place, and he could not seem to find the strike zone. So once those first 2 batters reached, Alex Cora walked out, and I said, yeah, this is a good move by him, because the problem with keeping him in at that point would have been you're risking him continuing to still not find the strike zone. Then all of a sudden, Cleveland has put a few runs on the board when he had Bernardino warmed up and ready to go. So I feel like they wanted to stretch him into the 7th, but they felt like there was a chance he might not make it through the inning. So they started to have Bernardino warm up early on, enough in advance so that he could go into the game if need be. I'm glad that Alex Cora has done a lot of trusting his pitchers this year and stretching them out a little bit more. We've seen it happen multiple times this season so far, and this is just the latest example of that. He could have just pulled him after the 6th and then just had Bernardino start the 7th inning, but the fact that he gave Tanner a chance to go into the 7th and try to see if he could record some outs in that inning was cool to me. And I think Tanner needs to walk away from the start knowing I did what I could and there weren't any question marks or anything I was left wondering about after the fact. So you have to be proud of Tanner and what he's done this year. It's just really disappointing that his offense couldn't pull their end of the weight here and provide some run support for him, because in a lot of situations, if a pitcher goes 6 strong innings and only gives up 2 earned runs, a lot of the times his team wins the baseball game. So it's tough that he had to take the loss in this game because his offense just was non-existent. But overall, my main evaluation of Houck so far this year, and even as far as Tuesday night goes, is that he's really been able to mix up his pitch selection a little bit more. He's been able to add a couple strong pitches to his resume that he's really improved upon going into this year. And I definitely credit Andrew Bailey for some of this, for really helping him to be a more well-rounded pitcher as a whole. And he's really starting to utilize different gears and be able to fool hitters a little bit more in general. And he knows that his slider is his go-to pitch. It still is nasty. It's been nasty for a long time. That's still going to be his go-to pitch in pressure situations when he needs to shut down the hitter. And he should. That pitch is very special to him and very strong for him. So I definitely would like to see him continue to utilize that when he's in situations where it's really crucial that he strikes out the runner or at least gets the runner to record an out in some capacity. But he's a lot more aware of other pitches that he has up his sleeve now that he can use. And I really have been happy to see that with him. So can't really ask for a whole lot else from him. I'm hoping these good outings continue for him and really for the rest of the starting pitching staff as a whole, because the reality at the end of the day is that nobody expected the starting pitching to be a strong suit for the Red Sox this year. I mean, let's face it, I definitely did not. I knew there were a lot of question marks with this pitching staff going into the year, particularly the starting pitching. So now that they're getting some really solid starts out of these guys, let's hope that continues because that will win them games. And obviously Tuesday night's game was an exception. They lost a game that they could have won because Tanner Houck gave them a chance to win and they just couldn't do it. But generally, if he continues to pitch that way, he's going to record a lot of wins this year on the mound. And that's the Tanner Houck that I think we've all been waiting to see, as somebody who goes out there and displays a lot of confidence and shows that he has the ability to do it and that he belongs in the rotation. So I'm looking more at this and saying, okay, if we can't take a lot out of this, at least we can sit here and say Tanner Houck has been dominating on the mound. Although Tanner Houck looked dominant in the game, the Red Sox did experience some not so much dominance from other people on the team late in the game, so I'm going to be talking about that next. I literally just used DoorDash last night to order dinner. It's a great way to get a lot of different things, and you don't need to just order food on it. There's a lot of different things you can get on it. And for Mother's Day, with it coming up, it's time to start thinking about some special gifts for your mom, because moms are a gift. So give her the best this Mother's Day. Get gifts as thoughtful as she is with DoorDash. Select from hundreds of expertly crafted bouquets to the best of tech to self-care essentials and more, delivered right to her door. Does mom have a sweet tooth? Is she a tech enthusiast, a beauty connoisseur, or is she outdoorsy? No matter what she's into, you can make her smile with a fruit or flower bouquet, makeup, tech gear, workout wear, and more. Get all your Mother's Day gifts all in one place. And get 50% off your next order, up to $15 when you spend $15 plus on your next flower, convenience, grocery, or retail order now with code LOCKEDONMLB. That's LOCKEDONMLB. Order using DoorDash today. Terms apply. I've always had great experiences with DoorDash, and they truly have some really nice things on there, so you should absolutely take advantage of this deal. You know what you also should do is subscribe to Locked On Sports Today, as we as a network have launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today, now available on the free Fire TV channels app. If you're looking for a great way to stay caught up in all things going on in sports without having to rely on scrolling through Twitter all day, Locked On Sports Today is absolutely the place for you. The Boston Red Sox did lose the opening game of the series in Cleveland by a score of 4-1 with an offensive performance that really was not much of anything. Few hits here and there along the way, but overall the Red Sox did not do much. And it was disappointing, especially considering Tanner Houck had such a great start in the game overall. And it was just unfortunately not enough for the Red Sox to be able to prevail in the end. And that was partly due to a late game collapse. So Tanner Houck gave up a couple base runners and he was pulled from the game. And then Brennan Bernardino came in the seventh. He pitched that whole inning, gave up a run that was charged to Tanner Houck because the runner was on base when Houck was still in the game, but gave up no earned runs of his own that were charged to him. He did walk one batter. He also seemed to not have great command when he was in there, and I said, oh great, this could end up being very bad. Luckily, it ended up being clean. relatively for him, he only let that one extra run get across. And honestly, considering where the inning was at prior to that and what it looked like when Houck was in the game in that inning to start, I thought that inning was going to turn into a complete disaster. So the fact that Bernardino only let that one run across is way better than what I would have thought. So I couldn't really be too mad at him. But then Connor Wong gets on base in the next inning and he's way too far off the base and gets picked off. I mean, that just cannot happen. You are a Major League Baseball player, and that is a fundamental baseball mistake that you just made. And I'm getting so tired of this team just lacking fundamental baseball. I mean, he was clearly way too far off the bag, and it wasn't even close. He had no chance of getting back to the base, didn't even touch the bag on his way back, just way too far off the base, and that just could not happen because it cost the Red Sox, and we'll never know if they would have scored a run in that inning had that not happened. So that was one thing that led to this late collapse for the Boston Red Sox, and it just becomes the same narrative over and over again, I feel, is when the Red Sox make these base running mistakes, and it drives me absolutely insane because they're doing it to themselves. They're giving away outs, and they are just not allowing themselves to keep themselves in games because they're making all of these mistakes. So definitely not ideal by Connor Wong there. And then Cam Boozer came in to pitch. He struggled. He pitched one inning, the bottom of the eighth, gave up 2 hits and 2 earned runs. He also walked 2 and struck out 2. He gave up a home run to Jose Ramirez, which, I mean, he's one of the best players in the league, so can't really be too mad at him for that. I mean, Ramirez was absolutely due, and it was going to happen at some point. So that happened, but wasn't thrilled overall with Boozer's outing either. He made a couple key mistakes that led to Ramirez then opening the gap a little bit for Cleveland. So those walks always will come back to bite you. And the fact that he walked 2 in the inning goes to show that more often than not, those walks are going to come around to score. So he did not look good. I mean, overall, so far in his time that he's pitched, he did look pretty good prior to last night. So there isn't really a way for me to jump to conclusions and say he's going to be very bad because we still quite literally have not seen enough of him pitching yet to know how that's going to go. But it was a combination of a lot of different things that led to the Red Sox not winning this game. And they had this game. They had the chance to win this game when they took the 1-0 lead. They could not hold that lead. It came back to backfire on them in the last couple innings. Just really as a whole did not work in favor of the Boston Red Sox. So ultimately, when you make base running mistakes and your pitchers don't have command and you walk people, that'll cost you a lot of times. And we saw that in this situation. And the Red Sox were in a place where they completely lost control of this game, unfortunately. And I just really hope that they can continue to learn from these mistakes. And granted, yes, they're playing with some backups in this lineup. Yes, late in the game, they brought in Reese McGuire to pinch hit for Bobby Dahlbeck. Then they brought in Masataka Yoshida to pinch hit for Pablo Reyes. So there was some shifting around that needed to happen. Connor Wong then went to first base and Reese went into catch. And David Hamilton came in to play in the infield as well because he went into pinch run for Yoshida, who got nailed by a pitch, which looked pretty painful. So little things like that Alex Cora does to try to put this team in position to succeed. Like David Hamilton is one of the fastest players on the team, so getting him to pinch run for Yoshida made sense to try to get the Red Sox into scoring position so that they could try to score what at the time would have been the tying run. So I liked how Alex Cora tried to move things around. I mean, Reese McGuire's been very hot at the plate lately too, so it makes sense to try to see if he can make contact because Bobby Dahlbeck is just absolutely putrid at the plate. Pablo Reyes, same thing, has been struggling a lot this year. So bringing in Yoshida to pinch hit as well makes sense with how strong Yoshida has been in his last couple of games at the plate. So I don't really think it came down to those decisions that led to the Red Sox losing this game. It was just that their pitchers just started to lose complete control, could not find the strike zone. Connor Wong made that crucial error, and it cost the Red Sox. And the Guardians are one of those teams that will take advantage of other teams' mistakes. They are now 17-6, 7-3 at home. So they play very well at Progressive Field. And that's one thing that you just don't do, is let them have opportunities to capitalize. The Red Sox did it against the Orioles, and that's why they struggled in that series against the Orioles and got swept. And they are doing it against Cleveland. When you give a team extra outs or give yourselves less of a chance to win because of mistakes that you're making that are a direct result of a lack of baseball IQ, a team like Cleveland is very good and is going to take advantage of that. So that was something that I wasn't happy about. The Red Sox need to clean up some of these mistakes. Hopefully Rafael Devers will be back in the lineup, and hopefully he mashes, because the Red Sox could definitely use his bat in the lineup right now. I also don't really like Rafaela hitting leadoff. He's been absolutely cold at the plate, is not seeing the ball well at all right now, and Jarren Duran has been one of the most consistent hitters on the team right now. So not sure why the Red Sox had him in the 2-hole, but I'd like to see him hitting back in the leadoff spot, because he was succeeding there and he was setting the tone for the Red Sox for the rest of that game in terms of how the offense might go. And you want a hot hitter hitting leadoff to try to get themselves on base early on, so that the guys who hit behind you can then try to score you at some point. And especially with his speed too, and being able to turn a lot of singles into doubles, it makes sense to want to have him be that first guy up at the plate, so that he can maybe get onto second base early on, so that the Red Sox are sitting here with a runner in scoring position early on in the game. And it just makes that momentum so much better and sets that tone early on for this team. So I'd like to see Cora move Duran back into the leadoff spot. And all this shifting of the lineup is tough, but I think when Devers is back, hopefully that'll be today, then the Red Sox can kind of get back to this sense of normalcy in terms of who's hitting where in the lineup, because I like Duran in the leadoff spot. I think Abreu rightfully has deserved his up spot in the lineup when he's hitting fifth, and it's been an improvement for him as opposed to hitting later in the lineup, just because he's been hitting very well. So I like that. I like the Red Sox keeping Tyler O'Neill high up in the lineup, because he continues to stay hot at the plate and continues to dominate offensively. So from that standpoint, I like it, but I just don't like Rafaela hitting in the leadoff spot, because he is struggling at the plate right now, and I'm hoping that he can figure things out, because we definitely could use that. He's a talented player, and I feel like he has a lot going for him in terms of his natural athleticism and his ability to do a lot of different things on the field. I think that's all things that are going to help him later on in the long run. So hopefully he's able to figure out his offense, because he had a good spring training. So he came into the season with lots of hope surrounding him and optimism, and I'm hoping that he can utilize that and figure out a way to hit more pitches, utilize more parts of the field, and keep that plate discipline going, because that's something that he struggled with last year when he was a September call-up for Boston. So I'd like to see him do a little bit better with familiarity of pitches and what to swing at. So hopefully he finds himself offensively, because that would be absolutely massive for the Red Sox if he can figure it out. And obviously, with players like Refsnyder, who just came back from being on the injured list and is hitting right away, hopefully he can keep that up as well. And Vaughn Grisham we should see at some point too. So I'm excited for when he comes back, excited to see him in this lineup and see how he performs, because he was a highly regarded prospect in the Braves system. They just have so many superstars on that team that there was just no room for him. So hopefully he's able to come back and contribute a lot offensively. So lots of things to come for this Red Sox team, but take it one game at a time. Let's hope they can bounce back tonight against Cleveland before getting ahead of ourselves on anything else. As always, though, keep the faith, go Red Sox, and I will catch you on the flip side.